cramps. Hello everybody and welcome to the United Stands. This is Manchester United versus Burnley preview, and of course, it's your latest Bruno Fernandez transfer news, because what else would we talk about on a Manchester United fan channel? But look, seriously, we're talking Manchester United versus Burnley. That's my predicted 11. We'll also be talking about a very interesting story that you may not have seen from Patrice Evra, talking about Ed Woodward. And some major big positive news for Manchester United. But let's start off with Bruno Fernandez, because he's actually playing for Sporting Lisbon tonight. It kicks off in 15 minutes. It's a Portuguese Cup game against Braga. I don't propose that you spend your time wasted watching that. Join me on That's Football at 8:15, because I'm doing a Chelsea versus Arsenal watch along. And if Arsenal beat Chelsea, we win tomorrow. We're 2 points off top four, unbelievably. But Bruno Fernandez starts for Sporting Lisbon tonight. What does that mean? There is some talk that this deal will still happen at the end of the week. But what I would say, and I think everybody would agree with me on this, if he's playing tonight for Sporting Lisbon, there is no deal in place. And it is not close. I don't think we can fall for that again. I think, we did a bloody watch along on this channel for Bruno Fernandez last game against Benfica on Friday night. And we thought that was his last game. He's playing again 4 days later. So it is not close. It is not his last game. It is not his farewell game, because there is not an agreement between Sporting Lisbon and Manchester United. And that is why he's playing for Sporting Lisbon tonight, because Manchester United will not pay the price that Sporting Lisbon want, and there is still an impasse there. And fair play to Sporting Lisbon, because it's a seller's market in January, and if United don't pay the price, we know why they're not paying the price. There is some talk that United are a bit annoyed that George Mendes is involved, because they don't want to work with George Mendes or get payments going to George Mendes. This is something I've said before about George Mendes. De Gea's agent was Mourinho's agent. I've never seen him bring any players to our club in the last 3 years. And lots of people seem to think we've got a good relationship with George Mendes. I've never seen any evidence of it, and I've mentioned it quite a lot on here. So interesting with that. But the point is, he's playing for Sporting Lisbon tonight. A deal's not been done, has it? Is Edward beginning to realise that he's out of his depth, says Funny TV. I don't think he has realised, and I don't think he cares about realising, to be honest with you. At all. The Bruno game is tonight. He's playing tonight. Thank you very much. Manchester United's game is tomorrow night. Right, let's talk about that game. Manchester United versus Burnley, first of all. So this is a must-win game for Manchester United, and I think the big key player for Manchester United now is my favourite player, is Anthony Martial. I think Anthony Martial now becomes massively important for Manchester United in how we go forward at this point, because we have no Marcus Rashford. On Marcus Rashford's injury, I was doing a bit of research on this today, stress fracture of the back, he could be out till next season. And I think United fans need to sort of get your head around that. I don't think he will be, because I think he'll get himself back for the Euros, and I think this is part of the problem with Rashford. I think somebody needs to have a word with his ear and say, you're going to be finished by the time you're mid-20s if you keep putting your body through this. A stress fracture of the back is not that common. And especially in football, it's not that common. So they say 6 to 12 weeks for that to recover. But then when you've recovered, you've got to make sure that you've recovered. You don't just, 12 weeks, get back in the Europa League and start playing for United. I think he needs at least 3 to 4 months to get back. And then 3 to 4 months is May. It's a shame the Euros are there, because if I was Manchester United, I'd say, look, we've played the risk with Rashford. It's backfired. He's got this back injury. You're not playing again till August. Actually have 6 months off. 6 months off and come back pre-season training in July and get totally recuperated. That's what I think United should do. That's not going to happen, but that's what should happen, because you're playing with a lad's future here. And we've overused him, and that's a worry. But Rashford, unfortunately, will not be part of this game, and he won't be part of any game soon. So Martial becomes massively important for Manchester United. And as you can see, that's how I've gone with how I think United should line up. It's not how I don't know how Ollie's going to line up tomorrow. What we certainly shouldn't do is play a back five. Why play a back five and two holding midfielders against Burnley? All right, you could call it a 3-5-2, because Brandon Williams and Wan-Bissaka become wing backs. But why do you need 3 centre-backs against Burnley? Right, the way Burnley play very quickly, they play 4-4-2. They'll play Wood and Rodriguez as the two. They play direct route one football, and they battle. They're not technically that good. You can run at them. They're just a typical sort of Stoke City team. they can graft the result against you, but actually, if you play a bit of football against them, you'll beat them. And that's what we did at Turf Moor, and that's what we need to do here. So 3 centre-backs, nah, forget all that. What I did struggle with is Luke Shaw should start in this game. I really do think Luke Shaw should have started in this game, but I can't find where Luke Shaw plays. So maybe, and Luke Shaw did go off with cramp, didn't he, against Liverpool? So I think maybe in this new world of looking after our players and not overplaying them, maybe Luke Shaw plays in the weekend in the FA Cup game and Brandon Williams gets a well-earned rest. So I would play Williams and rest Shaw for the weekend to then rest Williams in the FA Cup game. So that's what I've thought with that. I thought Luke Shaw was brilliant against Liverpool, but we don't want to play with 3 centre-backs. Let's rest one of our left-backs. So that's what I've done with that. Obviously, Lindelof went home from training ill today, so it's Eric Bailly or Jones. That's very easy, isn't it? It's like saying drink petrol or water. So we'll go with Eric Bailly, bottle of water. And Maguire will obviously play. Apparently, Maguire's playing with a bit of an injury. He's got that hip problem. Wan-Bissaka obviously at right back because it's a Premier League game. We need to win this game. We do need to win this game. So it's Fred and Matic in the midfield. Mata's got to play. This is perfect game for Mata. This is absolutely perfect game for Juan Mata. Burnley at home. This is what we pay him £160,000 a week for. You know, Mane's on like £90,000 a week, and we pay Juan Mata £160,000 a week. You wonder why we've got no bloody money. £160,000 a week we play Juan Mata to get him out for these sort of home games against crap like Norwich and Burnley. But no, I'm not going to go down that path just yet. So no, Mata should play in this game. Pereira was bad at the weekend. Lingard is awful. Play Mata. And then what I would do is I'd put Anthony Martial on the left. Now, the reason I would do that, I think Anthony Martial is our best number 9. Definitely love to play him up front, but we need somebody off the left. And I think with no Rashford, we need somebody like Martial is useful if the ball gets that far. But how many times are we going to get the ball to Martial if we play Dan James on the left and Greenwood on the right, or Pereira on the right, or Lingard on the right? Martial's just going to be stuck up front on his own. Now that Rashford's injured, we need to get Martial into the game. And the way you get Martial into the game is to get him in somewhere where he can get the more of the ball. I would love to see Martial staying at number 9, and I suspect Ollie will still keep him at number 9. But in the absence of Rashford, let's get our best player in a position where he can get on the ball and run at people. And that's why I would put Martial on the left, Greenwood up front, and obviously Dan James on the right. But we need to get... Martial is now key to our season. And him up front with no service, I think is a waste of time. So get him on the left. Get him... Martial's good off the left. He is good off the left. Get him on the left. That's what I think. What do you think of Moussa Dembele, says Adrian Fagayord. I think he's a good player, but I don't think Lyon will sell him in the January transfer window, to be honest. Please do smash a like on the video. We're half an hour early today because at 8 o'clock I'm going on to That's Football to do a watch along for Chelsea versus Arsenal. So please do smash a like on the video and share the video as well. Martial is very injury prone. I hope he makes it through the season, says the Fallen J. He won't, and Shaw is definitely starting, pal, says Pete Squire. Well, he's going to have to rest Williams then, because we can't play with 3 centre-backs against Burnley. Like, we cannot play with 3 centre-backs against Burnley and 2 holding midfielders. That would be ridiculous. But no, I agree with you about Martial. I think Martial will pick up an injury between now and May, and then what happens? So have we? You know what? You've took me on a tangent there. Honestly, have we ever been in such a bad situation that we are now in your life as a United fan? Now, some of you will say yes, because some of you might be remembering the 70s when we got relegated. Some of you might remember what went on in the 80s. But I would say I remember the late 80s just about. And although we went further down in the league, I always, I think the quality of the manager was better than what we've got now. Certainly in the Premier League era, we've never been in such a mess as we are now. We've never been in such a mess as we are now. But look, anyway, that's how I would line up against Burnley. We're going to have a lot of the ball. They're going to sit deep. They're going to use set pieces and hitting us on the break, which they're not very quick at doing. They won't. I don't think Burnley will score again tomorrow. They didn't score at Turf Moor. I don't think they're going to score tomorrow. So all we've got to do is score. And at Old Trafford, we should be scoring. So I think we'll win that game maybe 2-0. I think we'll comfortably win it. I think Burnley are an awful team. I watched them against Leicester at the weekend. I don't know how Leicester lost that game. They could have been 4-0 up and they end up losing 2-1. They miss a bloody penalty as well. So I can't see Burnley winning 2 games in a row because I think they're absolutely atrocious. I think they're a Jurassic Park football team. I think they are. You can tell I don't like Burnley, don't you? And the reason I don't like Burnley is because they always bloody beat me on FIFA for some reason. So I've built up this dislike towards Burnley. But no, I think we'll beat Burnley. I think they're an archaic Jurassic Park football team. They are Route 1, and we should not be naive to that. And actually, we have got a player who's very good at dealing with Route 1, and that's Harry Maguire. So I don't see them causing us any problems. I don't think they'll score, and I think we will. So I think we'll win, and I think we have to win, because I think if we don't win, then that's on the board, because where are the players? What about giving Gomez or Chong a chance? Not that will happen, says the real Jake Nick 20. I don't think they've got a chance at all, Jake. I don't think Chong or Gomez have got a chance at all of starting in this game, because I think they're both leaving. So it's as simple as that. Good evening, everyone, says Sally Devil Red 7. Let me tell you this story, though. This is a story that might... Or actually, let me give you the good news. Apparently, Manchester United's share price has gone up since from last August to Christmas. It's gone up. The share price has gone up. So, I saw this, I think it was Mark Ogden was tweeting it out for ESPN, something like that. So, people say, why has Woodward not been sacked? Well, there you go. We might be absolutely awful on the pitch and further away from winning a title than we have been in the last 30 years. But I tell you what, the share price has gone up, and that's all the Glazers are bothered about, the share price cup. Actually, they should make a cup called the Share Price Cup, and every time the shares go up, every time we've got a home game, Woodward could walk round parading the cup, because it's the only trophy we're going to bloody see of significance, isn't it, with them in charge. But share price has gone up, and you know why the share price has gone up? Because of you and me and every other bloody United fan, because there's so many of us, and we still keep turning up, supporting the team, and they know that, and that's what drives the share price up, because more and more brands want to sponsor Manchester United. So awful on the pitch. What we do on the pitch doesn't impact the business side. That's the model. That's Manchester United. And you know what? We've had loads of social interaction. We might not have signed Bruno Fernandez, but look at the social media interaction across our apps, because people fell for it. If only the players can come together for a win the way they came together for the foul in the box on De Gea, says Pablo Mendes. I actually really enjoyed that first 45 minutes against Liverpool. I think it was one of the most enjoyable games I've watched United in a long, long time. And I think that's because I got lost in the passion of the rivalry of Anfield and the fact that some players were giving a shit. But, quality-wise, they're not good enough. But that's all we want to do. All we want to do is have pride in the players that wear the shirt. And I know for 45 minutes, I must admit, on Sunday, I did. I was very proud of them, but they weren't good enough. But second half, they were awful. But 45 minutes, I thought it was good. Lee Marsden, have you seen the Sky Sports news story about brinksmanship and George Mendes? This is why Sporting want more money, because Man United are refusing to pay Mendes the cut for the transfer. Thoughts, Mark, says Lee Marsden. Well, I spoke about it at the start, and United are just making their job much harder by taking this moral stand, because we don't want to deal with Raiola and give him agent fees. Now we don't want to deal with Mendes and give him agent fees. And it's almost like this moralistic crusade that you leak that out into the press, and some fans go, whoa, yeah, good old United. Don't give Raiola any money, he's greedy. Don't give that Mendes any money, he's greedy. But actually, what's the truth? What is the truth? If we're refusing to give agents money because we think they're greedy, well, we lose out on players that we need, because that's the modern game. So, we're not going to improve because we're not going to get the players on this moral crusade. But the best bit about it all is, we ain't going to give that Raiola any money because he's greedy. How did you buy our football club, Ed Woodward? You bought it for the Glazers on a load of debt, and you've took $1 billion out. So we're meant to jump on board with, yeah, good old Ed Woodward, good old everybody else who's involved in these decisions, not giving that Mino Raiola greedy prat 20 million as part of the deal for Haaland. But these are the people who've taken $1 billion out of our club. Somewhat hypocritical, I would say. Why do you think Ollie has not played Chong and Gomez, says Fahad Almian? I presume it's because they won't sign new contracts, because they've not been offered good enough contracts, because he said in his own words they were ready in last summer, didn't he? And he's hardly used them. But this is a story I wanted to tell you. I saw it floating about a bit today. So Patrice Evra, who funnily enough was sat with Woodward, I think, quite recently, told us this story. He said it was 2014, and I was coming towards the end of my contract, and I had a chat with Ed Woodward, and I told him I needed to leave because of family reasons. And Manchester United had this option, which they do with a lot of players, of triggering a 1-year extension. And he said, we shook hands, and Ed Woodward said, you've been a great servant to the club. I'm not going to trigger the extension. You can go. And then he went on holiday, got a phone call, and was told that Ed Woodward had triggered the 1 year extension. So he rung him up and swore at him. And Ed Woodward said, you can't speak to the director of football like that. I'm fining you. And he swore at him again and hung up. So that just shows you the measure of Ed Woodward. And that's from Patrice Evra, who I think gets on with Woodward. He's been training at Manchester United and was with him the other day, but he's told that story that man will shake your hand and say you've been a great servant to the club, we're going to let you go, and then behind your back he'll go and trigger the 1 year extension. And that's come from Patrice Evra. So that's the sort of man. That's, people wonder if, Ed Woodward is a nice bloke or anything like that, and we don't know because he certainly won't speak to a fan channel, will he? He doesn't do many interviews. But that's Patrice Evra, one of our, people would say a legend of Manchester United, telling a story about a man basically stabbing him in the back. So, when you're treating your friends like that, God, who needs enemies? I mean, that's your own, that is the problem with Manchester United. And I really was quite intrigued by that Patrice Evra article, because I was like, well, we've been saying this on this channel for a while. It feels to me like a lot of the players don't like the board of Manchester United, and you can sort of see why, because you're meant to look after your players. There's Manchester United, the clue's in the name, United. Everybody's singing off the same hymn sheet. But obviously, I reckon most people in Manchester United players think Ed Woodward's a complete clown. Like, he'll stab you in the back to make a bit of money. Why else would Rashford be looking to go and work with Mino Raiola, or Jesse Lingard go and do that? Everyone knows most Manchester United fans can't stand Mino Raiola, so why would you, as a United player, go and get with him? Because obviously it's safer being with him than it is relying on your future through Ed Woodward. So, absolute mess at Manchester United, and more stuff comes out all the time. Phil Jones, Lingard, Lindelof, Andreas aren't good enough to play for United. Am I wrong? Also, Lukaku and Sanchez would help the squad right now, says Michael Walter. Well, Lukaku wanted to go, so let's forget about him, and so did Alexis Sanchez. If you remember back, I mean, look, I'm more than willing to, sort of discuss the, mistakes of Manchester United when the evidence is there. But I think in relation to Lukaku, he wanted to go and he forced the move and he got the move. In relation to Alexis Sanchez, I remember a press conference from Ole Gunnar Solskjaer pre-season, and he was like, basically said Alexis Sanchez is going to be a player for Manchester United. He'll be here this season. A couple of weeks later, he was gone. And the reason for that is because Alexis Sanchez made it abundantly clear that he wanted to go. So, there are arguments you can win and there are arguments you can lose, and I don't think you can say United should have kept Lukaku and Sanchez when it's common knowledge that both players wanted to go. So ultimately, we as a fan base, we can be critical of a lot of things, but we must always say if a player wants to go, let them go. And that's why I would let Pogba go, because he wanted to go. I don't think it's a healthy situation keeping a player that doesn't want to be here. Thanks for the contribution, Mikhail Lemontov. Lovely name, that is. Chelsea versus Arsenal prediction, says Anush. We can join me on That's Football straight after this. I'm going to go straight onto That's Football. We're doing a watch-along on there. Just type it in afterwards. I'll point you in the right direction. But what I would say is, bringing it back to the Burnley game, if we do win tomorrow, which I expect us to, and Chelsea lose tonight, we'll be 2 points. 2 points, Marcus! 2 points off fourth place. How? How would we do that? But to me, that just indicates how bad this Premier League is. It's awful. Because also, if we lose against Burnley tomorrow, we could drop to 10th. So you could be 2 points off fourth tomorrow night, or we could be down in 10th tomorrow night. So that just shows you the quality of the Premier League this season. Beyond, I think, Liverpool, Man City and Leicester, it's terrible. It's really terrible. And Let's see. Marcus Llorente, we need him, says Kyle Murphy. I wouldn't mind him on loan. I think he's a good midfielder. Yeah, I wouldn't mind him at all. And expected fans chanting about the Glazers out situation, says Ultra Shaggy. It'll be interesting to see if there is any chanting from the fans tomorrow. Was it a one-off, or will it be a continuation of what happened at the last Premier League home game when we beat Norwich 4-0? And Shaw will be too busy playing Call of Duty, says Daz Wills. Don't know what that's in context to. What happens... Oh, I'm fed up of talking about that. Moore churned Liverpool around in 2 years through sensible work as a CEO. Shows the impact a CEO can have. Woodward being replaced could save United, says Lee Peckover. I think, to be fair to Ed Woodward, though, how much of it is puppet on a string for the Glazers? Because if you're running a football club or a business, the last thing you should do is be annoying your players as a football club. So you should look after your players. You should be like what they should have done with Ander Herrera 6 months before his contract run down, was sit him down in the summer and say, you're a valuable part of our team. We want you to stay. What do you want? Within reason, let's get it sorted out. To let that contract run down and let a £25 million player walk out the door for nothing, that was sackable in itself. So to let Chong and Gomez, who Ollie 5 months ago was saying were part of our future and they're ready, and 5 months later they're out of contract, free to talk to anybody, that's sackable as well. To let people like Mata and Fellaini and Martial and De Gea and Jones and Young, and basically any contract run down all the time is just not a football club. It's a business. It's a bank. It's not dealing with people, and football is about people. And I just think in our football club, there is, as big as it is, I think it's infested with mistrust, unhappiness and lack of direction. And when you've got those things, results will suffer, and I think that's what happens. And this is why, look, I agree with what people say about Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. I feel sorry for him. I was saying it on Twitter today. Here is a man who is way out of his depth, and I really hope he can turn it around, but I don't think he will. He is out of his depth. He got relegated at Cardiff for a reason. We wanted that to be a blip, but he just isn't good enough. And I love him as a legend of the club, and I wish he was good enough, but he just isn't, is he? At this moment in time, miracles can happen, it can turn around, but at this moment in time, you know what? He's just not good enough. And his press conferences aren't good enough. He's not good at them. His coaching's not good enough. He's just not good enough. But in defence of him, if you replaced him with a Pochettino or a Zidane or whoever, or even a Jurgen Klopp, and you dropped them into Manchester United, what's a manager going to do? How can a manager change the fact that they don't have a major say in who comes in, because they'll say, I want Erling Haaland, and the players, they don't buy them. They'll say they want Bruno Fernandez, and they're messing about. Do they deal with player contract renewals? No. So whoever your manager is, you're still going to have the mistrust, the lack of direction, and the unhappiness in the club, because you're just the manager. You manage the players, but you don't necessarily keep the players happy if the players are worrying about their contracts running down and, having to look out elsewhere and concentration levels drop. That's not the manager. Contract renewals are not the manager. So it's a difficult job, whoever's in it. And I've always said that. I think we should sign Lionel Richie, says Luke Haynes. Yeah, we'll be dancing on the ceiling. A proper director of football would expose the hierarchy, says Samuel R. But the problem is, we want a director of football as Manchester United fans, don't we? We want a director of football. But how do you appoint a director of football when the people in charge don't want one and the people in charge want to keep control? I mean, effectively, whatever you say about Ed Woodward, he's playing the best game of Football Manager in the world, because he, with very little football knowledge, as Van Gaal said, very little football knowledge, is playing Football Manager without emotions. He basically has got all the roles. He doesn't delegate any of them. When you tick, delegate that, he's doing it all. And why would he suddenly go, I've got all this, I'm playing the best game ever, I think I'm doing a good job, doesn't matter what anyone else thinks, I think I'm doing a good job. And he's playing this game. Why would he go into the options menu and go, delegate contract renewals to director of football, recruit director of football, delegate recruitment to them? He gives away all the glamour of his job that he enjoys. So that's the problem. Even if we did bring a director of football in, I guarantee it'd be someone like Rio Ferdinand or Darren Fletcher, who are just there as another puppet. And we all go, wow, at least we've got a director of football now. But actually, their responsibility is they're just a puppet, because the person making the real decisions is still the same people as now. The only way we're getting a director of football is if the club is sold and they restructure the club. I've got a feeling we'll sign Bale, 95% sure, says Pete Squire. Not in January, mate. And the real Jake Nick 20 says, don't think you could blame manager as they don't get back. Some of the most successful managers of the last 20 years haven't been able to make it work. Yeah, I agree with you on that one, but I also think there are glaringly obvious issues with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer as a coach, regardless of the backing. I think we've seen massive issues in relation to his naivety at different levels. Anthony Roy Augustine says, did the standards of big teams fall or did small teams improve that much? It looks much more competitive this year in the Premier League. Just look at Sheffield United, says Anthony Roy Augustine. Yeah, I don't get what's happened with a lot of the teams, but nobody can find any consistency. I don't think it's to do with the improvement of the teams, because if you look at Liverpool, I mean, are Liverpool that good? They deserve to win the league, but are they that good? You know, when you played them on Sunday, did we think, oh, they're amazing? I just think they're a well-organised team with a strong mentality and they're consistent. They're not struggling to beat Burnleys and Sheffield Uniteds and Leicesters. They're beating them. I think there's a massive problem with the quality in the Premier League at the moment. Why don't get Depay since we have a buyback clause for 35 million, says George Salasa. I don't think we actually do have a buyback clause for Memphis Depay. I think we've got first refusal, which is something very different, which is when Lyon decide they want to sell him, they have to say to United, you've got first refusal. He doesn't have a buyback clause. Otherwise, I think people would have done that. Please do smash a like on the video, everyone. Let's see if we can get 1,000 likes while we're live. What happens to this team if Martial gets injured, says Benj5101. Well, there's one thing I would say that is very consistent with Manchester United. It can always get worse. And we aren't going to not have another injury. It's only the middle of January and we've got to play for 4 more months. February, March, April, May. In 4 months, we'll still be playing football. We will get more injuries. There'll be more, our medical staff's rubbish. Our coaching is rubbish. Our fitness conditioning is rubbish. We're going to get more injuries. So Rashford's not coming back anytime soon. Pogba and McTominay, look, hopefully they'll be back soon. But we'll pick up more injuries. We'll probably get Pogba and McTominay back and we'll lose Martial and James. Or Fred. So we will get more injuries. That's inevitable. Which compounds the issue of, I keep saying this and people don't understand it. We haven't got any money. I don't think we've got any money. Now people go, oh, look at our revenues. Look at how much we've spent. Look, what I'm saying is, I don't think we've got any money to spend. I think we've got about £40 million. That's it. Because that's why we're arguing with Bruno Fernandez deal, talking about add-ons all the time. Because we've got the basic 50 million euros and then we're doing the add-ons thing. Oh, if he does this, if he does that, we'll pay you that. I don't think we've got any money, because I think if we did have 100 million or 200 million or 300 million sat there, it wouldn't be a problem. We'd just go and get this, that and the other. We want loan deals. We only want to spend 40 million on Bruno, yet we spent 50 on Fred 2 years ago. It's a big, massive hint to me that we haven't got any money. Now, why haven't we got any money? Well, because the club are too interested in taking money out of the club, dividends, etc. The money is there, but I think they don't want to spend any money because we're losing money. So they want to keep their profit lines. That's why they're not giving much money up. So when I say we haven't got any money, I mean we haven't got any money for transfers because the club don't want to give that money up. So I think we will spend money in the summer, but I think that will be funded by the sale of Paul Pogba. So I would say in the summer, we won't spend any more than about 150 million again. And most of that will be from Paul Pogba. So yeah, I don't think we've got any money. I don't. I'd love to be proved wrong, but I don't think we have got any money, to be honest with you. Why is Bruno playing, says Joseph. So yeah, Sporting Lisbon are playing right now against Braga. Bruno Fernandez is playing. In one answer, he's playing because we haven't agreed the deal with Sporting. Whether we will or not, we'll have to wait and see. When does Woodward's contract expire? Hoping we'll forget to renew it so he can leave on a free. Maybe we can overplay him so he retires young, says Loz. Look, Ed Woodward probably would have been sacked by any competent owner. Unfortunately, our owners... hashtag Woodward sack Woodward last night. Why? Surely it should be hashtag Glazers out. Glazers control Woodward. Woodward helped them buy Manchester United. They're the same thing. They ain't going to sack Woodward. And if they do sack Woodward, you'll get somebody else coming in who's controlled by the Glazers. So they're the same thing, Woodward and the Glazers. Getting rid of one doesn't get rid of the problem. You've got to get rid of both. Anyway, thanks everyone for watching. Smash a like on the video. Subscribe if you are new. And also remember, this is not the end. I was half an hour early because... Go on to That's Football. You'll see Chelsea versus Arsenal watch along with Mark Goldbridge. I'm going to be live on there in 5 minutes. It's a 8:15 kickoff. So the fun doesn't end. I want to see you all over on there for a watch along. Chelsea versus Arsenal. And remember, if Chelsea lose, we win tomorrow night. We're only 2 points off top 4. So early show tonight to do the preview. And I will see you on That's Football in a couple of minutes' time for Chelsea versus Arsenal watch along. See you on there. Just type That's Football in. You'll find it. It's been a minute.